Hey everyone, it's Alicia here from We to 3, back finally for my first trimester recap. Now I know I've been gone a really long time. It's been like over, I think, 2 months at this point, and I'm really sorry. Pregnancy is weird, man, and you just don't really know how it's going to affect your emotions and how you're feeling until you get there. Doing videos right now is really hard for me, and I'll get into it in a little bit, like why I think that might be. But yeah, so I'm sorry I haven't been doing a lot of them. But anyway, I'm going to be covering my last half of my first trimester, which was weeks 10 through 14. Right now I'm actually in week 18 of my pregnancy, so I am going to be doing a second video covering weeks 14 to 18 as well. But first I'm just going to talk about how my first trimester of pregnancy went and what I experienced and the kind of stuff that has happened, and then I'll get into stuff that I've been currently experiencing for the last 4 weeks in my next video. The first thing I wanted to talk about from the first trimester and how the rest of it went is how I was feeling, some of the symptoms and stuff that I experienced. In my last video, when I ended at about week 9, I think I was talking about how I had been morning sick, but it was all day and it was just mostly constant queasiness. And I am lucky to say that up until this point in my pregnancy, I've never truly thrown up, which is really great, and I'm glad that happened. The constant queasiness was really trying though. The second half of my first trimester, I actually lost weight. I don't know if you guys can tell at all, but like my body weight is just completely redistributing to like the bump in the front, and I've lost weight everywhere else, which has made clothing really hard too. But that was mostly because of how much the nausea was affecting my appetite, and basically weeks 10 to 14 I just did not have one at all. I ate enough to survive, obviously, because I'm still here, but it really affected my appetite like crazy in a way I did not expect. I expected when I got pregnant to just want to eat all the time, and totally the opposite has happened. So it's kind of a weird problem to have, but it's actually what I'm really uncomfortable with. Like, I would rather be eating all the time and having to scale back than force myself to eat, which is how it kind of goes most of the time. Other things I experienced in my first trimester were migraines. I've kind of cut back. I think I have about 1 a week where it just all day is kind of like constant headache, and then 1 every like 2 or 3 weeks where it's just so painful that I'm like, don't feel good, I'm sick, I can't look at the light, like I'm just down for the count pretty much all day. That's a little bit higher than I would usually have if I weren't pregnant, so those have definitely increased. And one thing that's happened ever since I got pregnant, and I know it'll just keep getting worse, is my sleep has been terrible. Right now I'm up to my Snuggle pregnancy pillow and 3 pillows otherwise in the bed. My Snuggle runs like lengthwise all the way up my back, and then I have to have like a pillow between my knees, a pillow underneath my stomach, and then like my head pillow for sleeping. And it is definitely an operation. And that started happening even in my first trimester. It was already bad. I was not sleeping well. I definitely had dizziness and fatigue. I was still really tired all the way up until week 14 when it started to kind of start to wane off, as well as round ligament pain and gas pain. And that's pretty much the gamut of my first trimester symptoms. I was definitely, compared to where I am now in my second trimester, I understand so much better why they call the second trimester like the best time of your pregnancy, because the first trimester was truly awful. And especially in comparison. And I know the third trimester is going to be like a whole different round of problems, but so far I'm just super glad to be out of my first trimester with all of that happening. Because while some of these are still like in effect, the majority of them have resolved themselves, which is really nice. During my first trimester, like I just said, I was having a really hard time with my nausea, and then that would make me not want to eat. But I also have had really bad food aversions where things that sound good 1 minute just absolutely disgust me the next, and finding something that sounds good to eat is also a really big problem. Like, everything just kind of doesn't sound very good, so when something sounds good, I have to just like jump on it and eat that right away, otherwise I may or may not eat anything else. Which is really, like I said, frustrating, and the opposite of what I thought would happen. I have some like really specific first trimester cravings though, and most of it's like junk food. I wish I was craving more healthy food, and now that I am into my second trimester, I am craving healthier food, but the first trimester was just terrible. My cravings included pizza. Since the moment I got pregnant, I had really wanted pizza. Luckily, my second trimester, it's kind of gone away. Pizza still always just sounds good, but it's not like, oh, I need it right this second or I will die, which is definitely how it felt in the first trimester. I had Kraft macaroni and cheese a lot in my first trimester. It was like a diet staple, as well as fruit snacks. Any and all kinds of like gummy, chewy fruit snacks, any kind of fruit snack was great. And then baked potatoes. That's pretty much what I lived on for the first trimester, and now I'm kind of branching out a little bit, and I'll get into that in my second video. The ultrasound that we had in my first trimester, my week 11 ultrasound, went awesome. We got to see the baby like just grooving. The baby is so active, even at that really early stage. It wasn't sitting still, you could see it kicking around. It was super adorable.
I'm ready. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Let's get him moving. Yeah.
Of course, watch. Now baby's not gonna move. Yeah, he'll just sit there for now.
Yeah.
No, I'm cozy.
No, you're
I'm
chilling.
Take a sleep.
So,
Oh, there you go.
there you go. What's going on? Are you hanging out in there?
Oh my gosh. When I laugh, he goes like a little bit. Let's see that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And that first trimester ultrasound is usually for genetic abnormality screening, as well as like the tests that we got done, and I'll get into that in a minute. But the result of that test, where they check for the back of the neck, like how much fluid is there, came back fine. It was just mid-level, perfect, nothing indicating that anything's wrong. So that was awesome. And the next part of this video is the part which will be probably really disappointing to a lot of my viewers who were anticipating that we would have been knowing the gender at this point in my pregnancy. So if you guys haven't been around for a while, you might not know, but we were doing the genetic testing, which determines your risk of abnormalities. There are a couple different brands of it. There's Maternid, T2I, or whatever it is, Harmony. There's another one, a Panorama, I think is what it's called. And we actually opted to do a Harmony test. So here's what happened. We went in for that test 2 weeks before Halloween, and Halloween was supposed to be our gender reveal party. So the week of Halloween, like on the Tuesday before Halloween, I get a call from the genetic counselor, and I've been waiting to get my results. And they came back inconclusive in that there was not enough fetal DNA for them to get for testing at that point. When they drew my blood, I was at 11 weeks, which for the Harmony test, under my understanding, is like 10 weeks is the minimum they will even draw blood, and it's very common to not get any results back, and I was only about 11 weeks. It doesn't really surprise me, especially because I am a little bit heavier, that we didn't get results back. They did give us the option to come in again and get it redrawn. In my mind, here's what I did make a mistake. I should have gone in and had it redrawn. I can just tell you that right now, because I have been going like crazy with A, like wanting to know the gender, and B, just with worry, because my genetic counselor also mentioned, which I don't know why you would mention this to a pregnant woman. Maybe don't. Like, the research has been suggesting that if you aren't getting any results back, that it's an indicator that there's a higher chance that your baby does have genetic abnormality. So now I've just been worried, like, for the last 6 weeks about whether or not the baby has anything wrong with it, which there was no indicator in the last ultrasound, but there doesn't necessarily need to be, especially for something to be wrong later. So we didn't get the test redrawn, mostly because at that point it wouldn't have mattered for a gender reveal for Halloween, and that was kind of like the reason we were getting the genetic testing. And because at the end of October I just kept thinking, oh well, you know, my anatomy scan is right around the corner, because it really is like it was only like 5 weeks away. I just didn't realize back then how long 5 weeks could feel when you're worried about something. So I should have had it redrawn. That was a bad mistake on my part. We have our anatomy scan next Friday, so 6 days from today, and I cannot wait I'm very excited. We are not having a gender reveal party. Edwin and I are just gonna find out on our own, have like a special little moment. And then we're gonna go down to Salem to see our families that same night, and I have like a cute Christmassy themed way for them to find out, which is, if you guys aren't familiar, Christmas crackers. They're a UK tradition, and I'm basically just going to fill them with the color confetti that the gender is, blue or pink, and we'll crack them open and then like the confetti comes out. So yeah, that's what happened with our genetic testing and what's going on with the gender reveal. Other things from our first trimester. One thing that we did during the first trimester, if you can't tell, I'm sitting in what will be the nursery in a chair that we just bought for it. And the one thing we did during the first trimester that we weren't really anticipating is we bought a crib. We did that before we knew the gender because we knew that we wanted to get a gender neutral crib no matter what. A crib that we buy now is pretty much going to be our family crib forever, because I have like my own beliefs about toddler beds, and like I'm pretty much just going to transition. When our kids are done sleeping in cribs, they'll just transition to like big kid beds with rails, because A, you can just use a twin bed for so much longer, and B, like I don't want to have to worry about, if we have kids too close together, having two cribs and a crib with a toddler bed conversion. Just not worth it to me. So we just got a crib, and it was like meant to be our crib for the rest of ever, so it had to be gender neutral anyway. And the reason that we got it so early is because there was a righteous sale going on at Pottery Barn Kids, which is a place that had the quality of crib that we really wanted and the same kind of like style that we wanted. So at around 13, I think, weeks, maybe 12 or 13, that was our mutual Christmas gift to each other, is buying our crib. And we got like a $200 off deal on it. Made it like more comfortable to be able to buy it. And that definitely made my pregnancy feel a lot more real. I also, at the close of my first trimester, have officially transitioned to being into maternity clothes pretty much all the time. Pants for sure. None of my pre-maternity pants are comfortable to wear. They all hit on my bump really uncomfortably, even like my stretchy pants. So they are out. I am only wearing stuff with side panels or full panels at this point because it's just way more comfortable. Finally, I wanted to touch on like the reason I feel like I haven't been doing videos as much, which is that I've actually been like really depressed during my pregnancy, and then I feel so much guilt about that because we struggled so hard to get pregnant, and that was such a hard time in our lives that now being like unhappy during pregnancy makes me feel so guilty that I just don't even want to talk about pregnancy. It's just kind of like a weird in-between moment, and I felt really bad not doing videos too, but I didn't want to be fake on them either about like, oh, I'm loving life and it's so great, and like I am really grateful to be pregnant. And also, I was really struggling for a while. I'm just now kind of starting to get out of my brain fog of just feeling kind of like miserable. I think the biggest reason for that is just A, the hormonal difference, and B, like going from trying to conceive and having it be such a big part of my life to suddenly being given like the thing you've been wanting like forever was just, it's a really hard life transition. Like, that's a big jump to make, and I was not emotionally prepared for it at all. It came to a huge surprise to me to get pregnant because I was not anticipating it at all from the Clomid. We were like just getting ready to take a break for about 6 months. So that's where my brain was at when I did get pregnant, and now it's just, you know, been a long period of trying to adjust to the fact that I am pregnant. There is actually an infant like coming in May, will actually be here. And yeah, it's just been causing me to have a lot of depression and like mood swings, anxiety, and that is kind of expected in any pregnancy. And it's really like the main reason I haven't been filming. It's not because I just like don't like it anymore or don't like you guys. Just is like emotionally hard to talk about pregnancy when you're feeling that way about it. And now that I am finally kind of like adjusted and feeling way better about it, I'm hoping to like really get back into the swing of filming regularly, but I don't want to make you any promises about how often I will or will not film, just because I really can't tell when things are going to feel okay to do and when they're not. So in the era of transparency, that is why I've not been here. So I really am truly sorry that I have not been around more and not documented more of my pregnancy. I'm sad because I didn't get a chance to do that, but I also didn't want to get on the camera and be, you know, a fake person, and I don't think anyone wants wants to listen to me complain about how depressing being pregnant is, especially after how long we waited for it. Everything's getting a lot better, and you'll hear more about that in my second trimester video. My next video is just going to be about like my 14 to 18 week experience and talk more about what we have coming up as far as birthing classes we're going to be doing, some stuff we have coming up like what's on our registry, registering in general, which was really fun. So stick around and watch that one. I wanted to split them up so I'm not talking forever. The last thing I'm going to do for my first trimester video is just show you guys the progression pictures I've been doing semi-weekly, more like every other week on one of my pregnancy apps. They're not the official like bump day pictures that I've been taking with my husband every week, but they're like the informal ones I've been taking. And this will show my bump from like weeks 5 to the end of week 14. So check that out. I love you guys. I will see you for my next update for weeks 14 through 18. Bye!